What's up, guys? If you're new here, my name is Dominique, but you can call me Dom. This is Faith Family Homestead. We're outside in the garden. It's actually been 2 days since I last harvested green beans. I did come out here yesterday and saw that there were some green beans that I could have harvested, but I decided to wait till today. So I'm going to be harvesting some more stuff. I hope to also get to planting some seeds. We're gonna start these forever garden beds. I have these forever garden beds where I want to pull out the smaller onions in here. The white stuff that you see is just, we butchered chickens a couple days ago, and I've already shared this. The onion harvest that I did the first time were really big onions, but then the next bed next to it, the soil was really compacted and the onions didn't do as well. And so I made it my business that I was going to be adding organic matter to that bed to make it more loose and just to have more organic matter in it. So that is what I'm doing. I am adding, the first thing I've added already is the feathers from butchering chickens. That is what I did to the other bed, and I believe that's why the other bed is softer. So I'm just gonna go ahead and harvest the remainder of the onions. Some of them did get a tad bit bigger, but not really. But most of the greens are dying back, so I know they're ready to be harvested. So I'm going to harvest them, and then so that way I can mix in the feathers that I have in here, and I am going to leave this parsley. This is parsley that wants a seed, but it always just looks so pretty. I like to use it in bouquets, and so I'm gonna leave that in here, but everything else is gonna come out, and I'm gonna mix in the feathers to get that organic matter going. So besides these onions that I have to harvest, you can see how it looks. It's so hard to pull this out. The soil's really compacted, even though it's been raining non-stop. It's not holding on to moisture. Like, it's moist, but it's not super moist. Whereas the other bed, these just came out so much easier. So although these onions are not super big, we'll still use them. The onions I've already picked have already pretty much dried up, and so I'm gonna put these in its place and probably end up freeze drying these and using them to make onion powder or something of the sort. So I got this side all worked in with the feathers, and I lied, I'm not gonna pull the whole bed because the ones over here are still looking really green. They have no, they don't look like they're about to fall over or missing, like their green isn't turning brown, and the bulbs aren't really big, so I'm gonna leave the ones on this side. But I'm glad I got those all harvested because those are the ones that were really struggling. And I have some other organic stuff that I want to put in here. My girls, we had when we had baby chickens, that wheelbarrow right there is filled with wood shavings and chicken poop because the chickens had pooped in there, and so I'm going to use that and put in this bed as well. And I'm going to leave this bed. I'm not going to replant this bed until I get the soil where I want it to be. So probably in the fall we're going to work all throughout the summer to get this soil to look like the soil next to it, which is way easier to, right now it's dry, but it's way easier to fluff and move around. That's actually a pecan.
It wasn't so bad in the first place.
Harvesting these these carrots have been the easiest carrots I've ever harvested because I didn't even space these. I literally just sprinkled a bunch of seeds on the soil, and I've already gotten like 4-gallon size bags of rainbow carrots. This is the last bed where I planted Danvers half-long carrots. I don't know how many will be in here because I pretty much harvested all of them the first time I harvested carrots. Oop. But I did plant some tomatoes along the back. And I don't know if you can see these bachelor buttons from this bed all toppled over when we had a really bad rainstorm. So I'm thinking about just chopping them and sitting them in that bed. I'm not really sure right now. Some of them are leaping over into this bed. Although I do have cucumbers and green beans ready to harvest as well, I came down to my squash bed to harvest some things that I haven't harvested with you guys first, and we'll save the cucumbers and the green beans for last. But we've already filled up this basket really good. We have the onions, then we have the purple and orange carrots mostly. We only have a couple yellow carrots, but this basket's getting pretty full already. But I'm gonna bring you in closer and show you some of the different squash varieties I have growing in that and that are ready to be harvested. So I don't know if my camera was on because it looks like I just turned it off, but I just harvested this round zucchini and I have one more on the other side, so I'm gonna go harvest that as well. We still have some squashes and zucchini in here that are not yet big enough to harvest. If I really wanted to, I could harvest that one and that smaller yellow one, but I'm not. Let's go over there and check on that patty pan squash over there. So this is my actually my first year growing. Ouch. Zucchini and squashes are so pokey. This is my first year growing a patty pan squash. This is called a white scallop. I think I'll go ahead and harvest it. I heard that these are supposed to be sweeter. I've never grown them before. If any of you have grown them, they kind of look like pies. Little pie dish. It's so cute. I'm actually so glad it came in closer because I would have not spotted that green zucchini right there if I would have never been. That's called a black beauty. I would have never found that until it got too big because it was blending in with all the green. So we have 4 squash. And if you guys have been here, I have been weighing my harvest, especially my green beans and my squashes. Man, I just scratched that squash so bad. It was wet. I hate that squashes get scratched and scarred so easy. I've been looking at this cauliflower every day, waiting to see if I see it opening a little bit, because if it starts separating, that means it's gone too long. It has really been hot. I think I'm not gonna wait any longer, and I'm gonna go ahead and harvest it now. That's awesome. It does have like these green specks on it. We're gonna have to wash that off. I don't know if that's bugs or what that is. You can totally cook with cabbage, well, brassica greens, cabbage, cauliflower, and it kind of tastes like collards or but instead I'm going to put these in that bed to add some more organic matter. I know I put all of those carrot tops, and I'm going to just put this as well. Because usually I just feed all of like scraps. That was called a Minuteman cauliflower. Usually I feed all of my scraps to my pigs, but a lot of when I gardened in my previous garden, I didn't have any animals, and so all of our food scraps I would just throw right into the garden beds, and I used to compost in place. That's where you bury your food scraps. I want to pull this out because if I don't, it'll start regrowing again, and I don't want it to take nutrients from my squashes. And I do have some other cabbages that's trying to head up. But since moving here and we have animals, I haven't really harvested, I haven't really composted in place because I'm giving all of our food scraps to our animals to compensate their feed bill, especially our pigs. So I haven't had the opportunity to compost in place, but now that I know my soil, I don't want to bring in any more soil. I want to be able to build up the soil that I already have, now that I have taken the time to bring in soil this is my 3rd year gardening here. So now I would hope that I can just start adding organic matter. I do have red wigglers, I have rabbits, which I can just add their manure right as worm castings right on the beds. And so this year I really want to be able to compost and be able to supply enough nutrients for all of my beds. And so I'm going to take this time, instead of feeding my scraps to the pigs from the garden, I'm going to, like the greens and the tops, I'm going to be adding them to beds. So that's what I'm going to do with these, and then we'll start harvesting our cucumbers and our green beans. It's always been my dream to grow enough food or vegetables for my family for the year. I'm always looking into things that say that. Ugh, I hate cucumbers, they're so spiky. But in order to do that, I need to first have a baseline. And so that's why this year I'm really trying to be intentional about weighing and measuring all of the produce that we're getting, so that I know what I'm getting and if I need to go up or down next year. So these are called Deli Star pickling cucumbers. I have another one. So I'm bringing you in closer. That cucumber is called an Olympian. I'm not going to harvest that one because I think it's supposed to be longer. But we have a cucumber here. I think this is called Pick a Bushel. I actually planted this in the wrong place. Pick a Bushel is actually a bush cucumber. And so I meant to plant this maybe in the Greenstalk. So that's why it's not growing up like the other ones. But right next door to it, I have salt and pepper. I think this is salt and pepper, or no, could be the miniature white, because it's also a bushy, not like super viney. And you can see it's not growing up, but they do have lots of white cucumbers here. Actually has the most cucumbers out of, I want to see what this is. It actually has the most miniature white. So it actually has the most cucumbers on a plant than out of all of these other plants. They have cucumbers on them, but not as many and not as big. And then come right over here. I've already harvested one of these with you guys. It's called Tasty Green. So this is my second one and my third one. Wow, this one's the longest one I've harvested. Oops. So I do have a Suyo Long, with a Japanese cucumber. The first year I grew it, it was my favorite cucumber. But since then, I found other ones I pretty much like more. I'm gonna leave that one because it's still pretty thin. And I did see some other ones, but they're still thin, so we're gonna leave those. Actually, I just saw this one. This one's called a Norian. It's like one of the cucumbers that you get in the grocery store for your kids, the snacking cucumbers. So it is not spiky at all, which is what I love. This is my first year growing it. That's a great cucumber. Okay, last but not least, we are finally at the green beans. And this is so cool. I've only harvested probably 2 to 4 purple beans since I've been harvesting. These bush beans were already up to 2 pounds. But we have a whole plant here that has a bunch of these purple pole beans ready, which they hadn't been this whole time. It's crazy to think what a difference 2 days make. Like I said, I was out here 2 days ago with you guys harvesting green beans, and it already looks like I'm gonna be at another pound. 2 days ago I harvested 17 ounces. This is just the front of the bed. This is not even the back. So I'm wondering if maybe I'll actually be at more than what I harvested 2 days ago. And none of those purple pole beans were even ready. I didn't even see them 2 days ago, so that happened fast. Okay, we're gonna need a different basket for these green beans because I don't want to sit them on top of this and it get lost. I actually really enjoying having all my beds converted because now I can sit on the side of this wood and I'm not sitting on the floor, so when it rains I'm not getting my butt wet. I've showed these. Favorite bean, painted pony, bush bean, very slim. It can be used for dry bean or fresh green bean, but I love how slim they are. So majority of my beans are the painted pony, especially in that other bed there's only painted pony. This bed kind of has a combination. I did have some bean seeds that fell out of the bag, and so I wanted to get them used up. So I first planted all of the beans that had no name tag that just fell out the bag, and then if they didn't germinate, or some didn't germinate all the way, I went back through, well, my daughter went back through and planted painted pony bush beans. So there's just a mixture in here. I love how lush and full green beans are because it doesn't really leave much room for weeds to grow. There are some weeds in here, but not a lot. It keeps the weeds from basically taking over a bed. So I think this is pretty much all of the green beans. I do have lots of spaces in here that have so many green beans on the stems, but they're not quite big enough to harvest yet. So we'll be back out here probably in another 2 days, give those time to get bigger. I've said it before and I'm going to say it again, that this is literally my favorite spot in the garden. Especially with the grapevine back there. So I think this is going to be my harvest for today. I think this is probably, it's definitely over a pound. We'll go in and measure. I think it's going to be like 20 ounces. No. Well, we got our squashes, we got our cucumbers, cauliflower, onions, and carrots with these green beans. I haven't been weighing my carrots. I've just been measuring them by the Ziploc bag because my kids had already eaten a lot of carrots and I had used a lot of carrots before I remembered that I was supposed to be measuring. So I've just been measuring them by the Ziploc bags. I think I'm up to 4-gallon Ziploc bags of carrots. And that's not including, like, I used some in bouquets, I gave some away, my kids ate some fresh, and so these carrots will probably fill another Ziploc bag. I've been weighing my cucumbers and counting how many I got. I've been weighing my squashes and how many I have, and I'm not going to weigh the cauliflower. Once all of my onions cure, I am going to weigh those. I've been waiting for my onions to cure before I weigh how many onions I've got. I'm going to count them by individual and by pounds. And that's pretty much it. I'm going to be weighing my tomatoes, my peppers by spicy and sweet peppers. And I think that's it. We have some potatoes that have died back in their bed, and I think I'm not going to harvest those today. It's supposed to rain in a couple hours. I just wanted to come out here and get these things because squash grow, you know, overnight. And so if I would have waited, this squash right here would have been like the size of a baseball bat tomorrow. Especially this long cucumber would have exploded. And so I'm glad I got out here, but I'm gonna leave the potatoes. I'm not gonna harvest them tomorrow because it's gonna rain today and tomorrow, I think. Whenever we have our next dry day is when I'll harvest the rest of the potatoes, because I'm not in a rush to get those out right now. But thank you guys for hanging out with me for another harvest video. I'm so happy with the harvest that we've been getting so far. I think this is my 4th time harvesting off these green beans. Probably my 3rd time harvesting cucumbers and squash. I can't wait for the peppers and tomatoes to start rolling in. So I'll see you guys next time. Bye guys.